Welcome everybody to Culture Doom. This is episode 330. My name is Alex.
And I'm Brendan.
Brendan, how are you doing this evening? What are you having to drink?
I'm fantastic. I have never been better in my life. I'm drinking Benny's own bottling of whiskey. This is the Clark and Sheffield whiskey. It's deeply discounted right now. But what are you having this evening?
I'm having a Mai Tai.
Speaking of perfect dead of winter drinks. Actually, I think I could see the argument for why that would be a good thing to have.
Just something fruity. I put orange juice in it too, so I get a little bit of vitamin C and stuff. But it's just something.
You're looking out for your health.
Yeah. It's just something to kind of, keep your spirits warm and give kind of give you a feel of tropical South Pacific breezes and things such as that, because living in the Midwest is just, especially Illinois, is just kind of
Well, that's everywhere.
Yeah, that's basically what it is. Yeah,
I'm someone who really, I've said this a million times, I don't mind the dark. I'm really relieved when I leave now at 5 or 6 o'clock at night, and I drive home at night, like real night.
Mm-hmm.
I get much more of a boost in my awareness at night. Daytime is just not my jam. I was actually thinking, because I'm off starting next week, and we'll talk about Cyberpunk later, but I'll have all this free time during the day, but I don't like doing anything during the day. I don't like watching movies. I don't like playing video games.
It's too bright.
It's too bright, and it's just not my jam. It doesn't feel right to me.
Yeah.
So I would much prefer.
I agree. It's kind of like, I can't, mostly because I'm working during the day, or also watching my kid and stuff like that, and doing stuff with Erica. But I feel like at nighttime, like this type of thing you and I doing, where we can just kind of zone in and it's dark and you just have, the hum of your computer and the glow of your monitor to watch things or to play games, where you can just be so focused into that type of environment. That's kind of the best type of setting, in my opinion, for a lot of those things.
It's like going to a movie theater. It's like it's easier to get zoned in when you're just surrounded by darkness. And it's just more isolated. I don't know. I that's why there's so many Saturdays where all day long I'll be kind of lethargic and feel like I don't want to do anything. And then around 8 p.m. I'm like, oh, I'm going to go to the bar. I'm going to go see a movie. I'm going to be on 4chan all night. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then
you get that second wind late at night. Almost as if you kind of your body was just almost naturally kind of like just storing that awakeness for later consumption. That time has come, and it's like, all right, man, let's go and have some fun now.
So yeah, you're having a Mai Tai to celebrate the optimism of going back to springtime, into daylight, into warm weather. Although today was 60 degrees in Chicago. I don't know what that's all about. But.
Yeah, it was kind of one of those, well, we kind of get those things like every so often where you have that 1 or 2 good days of really nice weather, and then it just goes like straight into the shitter.
Yeah, but this whole winter has been extremely mild.
Yeah. Well, technically speaking, we are still in fall. Although December for me, in my mind, just automatically becomes winter. It's like,
I agree.
It's like in Illinois, it's either, there's a joke, the 2 seasons are actually winter and construction, and that's kind of how it always is. But the thing with us drinking, it's like, you having whiskey and me having like a Mai Tai, there's more like traditional drinks. But then I was thinking to myself, when it comes to beer, like I've been kind of more traditional, being more of a traditional beer drinker and stuff like that. And I was just thinking to myself, like, the growth of like the American microbrewing scene over the past 20-25 years has been like a big boom to like, people saying, American beer is just piss water and stuff like that, which to an extent it is of the beers available. But what's happened is that I feel like the microbrewing industry has in itself become an utter joke, because the type of beers that I see on shelves in the stores, whether it be, supermarket or Binny's or Friar Tuck's or, Walmart or whatever, I kind of look at some of those things and I think to myself, who the fuck honestly wants to drink this, and who honestly believes, if they're these beer aficionados, why it's okay to have certain things put into beer and then have that passed off as being completely acceptable.
Can you give me an example?
Well, I'm taking a look at a bunch of different brewing companies here. I won't necessarily use names. I'll use names. I don't care. There's one out here, this one in Urbana, which I don't know how long they've been open. I've never heard of them, but whatever. They're in downtown Urbana. I never go there. And they've got a bunch of beers. They've got like an American Pale Ale, Belgian Style Blonde, Porter. They've got a Farmhouse Ale. And then as you get further down this on the screen, they have a beer which is a Farmhouse Ale with pink peppercorn, lemon peel, and spearmint. Another one is something called Acid Dojo, which is another Farmhouse Ale with yuzu, green tea, and rose hips.
Oh, so they're okay. I got it.
Yeah, and then there's one that's another ale that's got cubeb peppers and chamomile. So it's kind of like it seems like they're making like scented candles into beer. Another one that's kind of well known for making a lot of stupid fucking beers is or being exceptionally pretentious and full of themselves, especially the owner, is Dogfish Head. And Dogfish Head has this beer which is a Kolsch, which is perfectly fine, great, fantastic variety of beer. Don't fucking touch it. Here's what these ass hats do. They take a Kolsch and then they add in salt and black limes, sour lime juice, and pink sea salt. And I'm like, why would you do this to a perfectly fine beer that should be left untouched? Which makes me wonder, your Kolsch is probably bad, so to try to disguise it and pass it off as a unique Kolsch, you add in all this additional garbage to it.
So my question is, how would you feel if you tried any of these beers and you liked them?
I'd be very surprised. Because I can't get out of my head the idea that they're putting this stuff in this beer and they're trying to basically pass off a lot of these beers as being superior to the macro brews like Coors and Miller and Budweiser, but then also trying to put it on the same pedestal as the beers from overseas, like the German beers, the Belgian beers.
So you're saying the European beers don't do anything like this?
No. Especially like in like places like Germany, where they even have that like national law that says you're supposed to you can only brew in accordance to these certain types of guidelines and these specific ingredients.
I'm a little surprised that you're coming down on the European side of this. I guess you're just a beer purist at heart.
I kind of am, because another example from Dogfish Head, this thing called Super 8, and it's a sessional ale along with prickly pear, mango, boysenberry, blackberry, raspberry, elderberry, kiwi juices, toasted quinoa. I don't know how the fuck that got in there. And an ample addition of red Hawaiian sea salt.
So the way I look
I don't know. At that point, I feel like you're not even making beer.
But shouldn't you be angrier with the consumer than with the manufacturer, the brewer?
I think I'm equally angry, because if the brewer made this stuff and nobody bought it, that would basically teach them, don't do this because nobody wants to drink this shit. But at the same time, you have people eating it. It's also very similar to how people will bitch and moan about putting pineapple on pizzas, and then people will eat the pizza and they say, "Oh, you shouldn't have you should never have pineapple on pizza." But then you go and have beers that have pineapple in it, and they think absolutely nothing wrong with that concept.
Wait, we're all over the place now.
I know, but
let me focus things down into one thing specifically in terms of alcohol. For me,
yes.
To me, this is like, and you kind of hit on it, when you've got terrible whiskey, and so you pour a bunch of peppermint in it, or cinnamon, or honey, or apple flavoring or whatever shit. Like
Yeah.
there's multiple Jim Beam and Jack Daniels.
Yep.
Or
Especially
whoever.
now the season that we're in, you start seeing those end caps at Benny's of that shit.
It's like the cinnamon whiskey, so that it's like, yeah, add it with your tea for Christmas, everybody. But the thing to me, though, is I don't like it. I'm judgmental of people who do like it, but I don't care. As long as it doesn't take away shelf space from the shit that I like, then I don't care that it's out there because it really doesn't affect me or my life at all. So I get why Jim Beam says, ooh, we got a really off cask of whiskey. What do we do with it?
Add cherry flavoring to it.
Put a bunch of cherry syrup in it and call it cherry whiskey liqueur, and fine, go for it. I get it. So I think you should point your anger at the consumer, not at the brewer who says, "Oh, our Kolsch really didn't turn out well. Well, we've got 80,000 gallons of it. What do we do? Oh, pour a bunch of sea salt. I don't really get it, but
Yeah.
I don't know how brewing beer works. Some sea salt and some rose hips in it.
Yeah. Well, I think. I mean, it makes you wonder how much of their Kolsch is garbage, because it seems like a lot of it is going to be garbage. Like they specifically don't even fucking want to make an attempt to try
They
to
don't have their own
rectify it
Kolsch.
of any sort.
But you're saying so Dogfish Head has no Kolsch of its own.
I think it might. I mean, I didn't even fucking take a look for it, but I don't believe that they have a regular Kolsch. They have 4 different types. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 IPAs.
You might be right, actually. I was gonna be like, well, now you're
'Cause why-
busted if you don't
'cause,
even know if they sell their own Kolsch, then your entire premise is
Yeah.
kind of.
I think what's funny here is that they have, like, if they made a Kolsch, then they should just say, it should just be on the list. They're saying Dogfish Head Kolsch,
Well,
and not give it a stupid, goofy name of any sort.
I understand really your frustration is because you were getting grumpy about American microbreweries earlier this week, and it wasn't specific to anything with the beer itself, but it was more the marketing that you were angry about. Because now just typed in Dogfish Head Kolsch, and the result was something called the perfect disguise. And it says, is it an IPA disguised as a Kolsch or a Kolsch disguised as an IPA? And the bottle is of a German man carrying some pieces of wheat, and there's a there's a little hops guy,
Yeah.
like using him as a robot or something. Like think Men in Black. I mean, Goose Island is pretty straightforward, although they're
Yes.
not really a microbrewery anymore.
No. I mean, and that's the thing with a lot of these companies where they still pass themselves off as being a microbrewery, like they're like a small mom and pop, but they're not. Dogfish Head, for example, they're owned by Boston Brew Company, which owns Sam Adams, which is the 4th largest. It's basically it's a macro brewery at this point. I would say.
I didn't realize that they were a microbrewery,
Yeah, or
that they were a fake microbrewery.
Yeah, and that's the thing. A lot of these companies have they have a huge parent company that owns them more than likely, but they still keep this image to separates them from the parent company in many cases, to try to still give this mystique and this look. And it kind of does allow them to kind of fuck around to their own usages. I mean, as you can tell, this list of beers that they have and stuff like that, they just do whatever they want, while the parent company, in this case Sam Adams, kind of tends to be more straightforward with their beers for the most part. But at the same time, you can't try to be like, oh, these the guy who runs this thing, I've seen interviews with him, he's up his own ass and stuff like that, quite frankly.
It seems like you mostly just hate the guy who owns Dogfish Head.
Well, when you're basically trying to make yourself sound like you're making amazing fucking beer, and you just throw in graham crackers and marshmallows and chocolate into and be like, fuck it, whatever, some dipshit's gonna go and buy a 4-pack of this stuff. It's kind of like, all right, dude, whatever, But then when you look at the fucking description, it has food pairings. Another one is Rogue Brewing Company, and they've got a whole bunch of fucked up things here. Like this one's called Combat Wombat. It's a sour Northeast style Hazy India Pale Ale. So that already there is just all over the fucking place. With Australian hops, blood orange, and grapefruit. So you're kind of you're making in a sense almost like a radler if you're adding orange and grapefruit juice to this.
I agree.
And it's like, and like you said, you're like, it's like, is it an IPA? Is it a sour? Like how do you, it seems like you just have two brewing vats and at the end you just have them kind of a pipe from both of them going into a barrel and then just throwing in like Dole pineapple juice and being like, something like this. Or here's another one, Pineapple Party Punch, Hazy India Pale brewed with pineapple and toasted coconut. It's just, I don't understand. I mean, if they try putting this up with beer competitions from overseas or globally, and they end up getting better awards than some companies that have been doing the same beer for decades and stuff like that, it just kind of makes you wonder, like, some of this stuff is just kind of silly for silly's sake. And I don't know. I mean, somebody could be able to drink some of the stuff like once in a blue moon as a gimmicky thing, but if this is something
my go-to gimmick beer.
Yeah. But basically, if this is something that you're going to be, I highly doubt people are going to be drinking this shit on a regular basis and stuff like Marion Berry Sour. Like, so you're drinking beer made with beer. It's just, I find it silly.
Alex,
I think it's stupid.
I understand.
It's the Fast and the Furious of beers.
Hugely successful, but incredibly stupid.
Yes. Or Avengers. Marvel, the Marvel Cinematic Universe.
It's even more successful.
And dumb too.
I mean, I agree with, me. I like simple. I've always preferred simple.
Yeah.
And if this continues to push out more traditional approaches to beer, then I truly understand where you're coming from. But if these things continue to be just kind of these weird niche offerings from these microbreweries, then
I'll just keep buying Busch Light.
Yeah, I mean, that's the point. So until Goose Island comes out and says that, no, you have to carry our marshmallow and peppermint, Kolsch, and none of these Miller Lights, which would never happen because it's all Miller. Yeah. Although there is a little bit of that goes on, as I understand it, where depending on what you like, you can only mix certain things on tap at a bar.
Yeah.
Which I didn't realize was true. Speaking of beer, Alex, do you know what beer goes well with? No, whiskey goes well with steak.
Yeah, that's true.
But baseball games.
Yeah, baseball games.
And you were telling me earlier that
a crazy story. A really crazy story. Well, apparently I found out over this past Corona-chan year that it's actually been kind of a good thing for the trading card industry, and that is something that nobody has given a shit about since you and I were probably like 8, 9, 10 maybe.
I collected X-Men cards. I never was in the baseball world.
But like collectible, like memorabilia, like sports memorabilia, specifically baseball cards. And it sounds like a lot of these stores are saying that, in the past couple of years, it's actually been very, very good business for the collectible cards, mostly because you finally have this new generation of players coming up that are making a name for themselves, as opposed to many of them that were there in like the early 2000s and stuff like that. And also because of the way that a lot of people are now starting to kind of collect things. A lot of older cards have gained value over the years, with a lot of players either winning titles or going to Hall of Fame or whatever the case might be. That's also kind of bumped up some of the price of it. Another thing is that they said the biggest thing with the whole lockdowns and the Corona thing is that so many people now have a much larger amount of disposable income, in which they themselves are not going out and going to see sporting events or movies like we mentioned before, or going on vacations or anything like that. So a lot of people have recently kind of gotten back into sports cards and other types of memorabilia, mostly for investment purposes. There were basically a lot of guys that were purchasing like entire boxes of baseball cards, which you and I, if we were kids, like you collected X-Men, so you get like a single booster pack or whatever.
Packs.
Or same with me, like, I'd get baseball cards. And the joke is between me and my office mate at work, we always say how almost every other pack of baseball cards, no matter who it was, either Topps or Fleer, Donruss or Upper Deck, it seemed like you'd always get a Don Mattingly card. And I remember I had probably at least like 24 Don Mattinglys. It was great, and it was so silly because every single time I got him, it was a different Don Mattingly photo of him playing baseball, which the man's handsome. I mean, the guy's got a great mustache from back in the day and stuff like that. Like the Tom Selleck baseball for real.
They're just sure you and your workmate can commiserate over the abundance of Don Mattingly cards.
Yeah. But apparently they were saying, a lot of collectors were saying also the boxes, because if you want to get like a really good price on baseball cards, you can just get them on eBay, because people are just sitting on pallets and pallets in warehouses. And they were saying that like over the past couple of years, some of them have gained significantly, where they've, either gained 50% in price on the market, or they've gone like double the price of what they were going compared to 5 years ago. And there's more money, because I know I've purchased, on a side note, like I've purchased Magic the Gathering cards. That was like my shtick starting like in high school. And I've purchased full booster boxes of them. And there's more value in some of the older card sets of sealed, unopened booster boxes than there are in individual cards in the set. And basically a lot of the people who do these baseball cards things are kind of like collectors, but also speculators. So they wonder if like maybe this, this particular box of 1992 Donruss cards might possibly gain value in the next 10 to 15 years. So I'll sit on the box for, a dozen years and then try to flip it later on and get double the value and stuff like that. Also, a lot of people are now going back and they're trying to get those old boxes and see if they can possibly get rookie cards of a lot of players from back in the day. But like I said, a lot of these guys that are, older, our age or all older also, maybe a little bit younger, they're basically saying, this is a great time to invest in a lot of sports memorabilia. Business has picked up for a lot of these stores, which, I think the card market itself kind of crashed in the 90s based upon the increase of kids not really wanting to play with, or not play, but more collect cards, video games. That's kind of what they wanted to do instead. So it's just an interesting thing to see that some of the stuff that, I just had stacks of them in my bedroom when I was a kid. They might be worth something now, but unfortunately, I think they were all put in the trash when my folks moved from Villa Park. So all of those Don Mattinglys are just in some landfill now. Yeah. Or they've been repurposed as a recyclable newspaper or something like that.
Sports card boom leads to second location for card shop. This is in Poland, Ohio, which I didn't know there was a Poland, Ohio. But it's hilarious that the industry that is booming and leading to expansion are card shops. During a pandemic. All of the restaurants are dead.
Yeah. Specifically the sports card shops, like the sporting memorabilia shops. A lot of the game shops, like the ones that have like Magic the Gathering, Yu-Gi-Oh, Dungeons and Dragons. Those things are getting killed left and right because of stuff. It's also the industry itself, but anything that's sports memorabilia, it seems to be doing pretty dang good. And honestly, like I kind of would want to get some cards for my kid one day. I was at a Dollar General this past week, and I was kind of going through the aisles. I had to get like some orange juice and some other stuff Erica sent me there for. And they actually there's a little toy section, and they actually had a really good selection of Hot Wheels cars. And I kind of started perusing some of them, and they were like $1 a piece, which I always thought was a fantastic price for a die-cast car. So I got one for my kid and stuff like that. He'll probably play the crap out of it and might not be worth anything one day if it's a collector thing, but it just kind of a fun little thing to be able to bond with somebody, or something. It's just, you and I, we have anime and Pepe memes and stuff like that.
Pepe. We do not have Pepe memes. That's racist. I don't know what you're talking about. I
know
only
Pepe.
trade in Apu the Helper memes.
Yeah, so all Pepes are frogs, but not all frogs are Pepes.
Correct.
Okay. Yeah.
Apu Astasia. Apu Astasia originated from poorly drawn variation of Pepe created in the style of Spurdo Sparde.
That is my
That's your
that's
go-to.
my guy.
Yeah. While originally popularized in the Finnish image board, whatever that word is, the character is frequently posted on 4chan,
Ylilata.
where he's referred to as Helper. So
the Finns have their own 4chan? That's very interesting.
Everybody seems to have their own 4chan, but no, only the American one is considered evil.
Oh, not 2chan?
2chan? Nobody cares about 2chan.
Not even the Japanese care.
Yeah, only the Japanese care, but the Japanese don't care about anything. You kidding? Can you post adult content on 2chan or 2chan?
If you find the board.
I can never find the board. I mean, not that I've ever looked. I'll have to look into that again tonight.
Yeah, I probably would need to try to get Chrome and then use the Chrome to like translate thing or whatever.
You can do that on...
You can do that on...
Yeah, just go to translate.google.com and put the URL in.
Oh, okay.
But anyway, sorry, I derailed you. So you can bond with me over memes and anime, and you're going to bond with your son over Micro Machines? Is that what you said? No, Hot Wheels.
Hot Wheels, yeah. Because my mom got she and my brother visited this past weekend. They got him like a giant, huge like Hot Wheels garage type of thing with like a sound, and it's got an elevator and multi-deck parking garage type of thing, and he's just been loving it and stuff like that. So it's nice, and it makes me feel okay to play with Hot Wheels as a 37-year-old man.
It's funny to me that you said that you were concerned about if the Hot Wheel you bought at the dollar store was going to be worth money someday. That is most insane comment.
Yeah. Well, I've got some stuff that's worth money. Like I've got some Magic cards that would be worth money.
But Magic cards are different than Hot Wheels.
Well, there are some Hot Wheels cars like the original set, like I think it was like a 12 cars that came out.
You're fucking with me, right?
No. There were certain Hot Wheels cars that are worth some money.
Yes, the ones that were in small batches when they first arrived.
I know,
it's the same reason no comic book will ever be worth money ever again. There's too many of them.
As opposed to like Superman one.
Exactly. But now there's like 700 million copies of Superman 18, or not 18, like 2018, whatever. Mm. You understand my point. It's why Beanie Babies were never, ever, ever going to be worth anything.
Do you know what? The Beanie Babies were like the 90s version of Funko Pop.
Do people think Funko Pops are going to be worth money?
Yes.
That's so
You should
naive.
see some of the pictures I've seen of people that just basically have Funko Pops as wallpaper is ridiculous. I have no idea that Funko even was able to license that many properties. It's astronomical. And it's like, oh, you want a Batman one? It's like, okay, which of these 80 different versions of Batman would you want? The only one I've wanted was the animated series, and I kind of missed out on it on Amazon. But
the only way crazy. A Funko Pop could be worth a bunch of money is if it was like the original small, like first run of them that were only, 2,000 or something before they were popular. So it was like the micro distributed version. And then, you know what I mean? It's like only the original 10 are going to have any value in the future.
Yeah.
Captain America from 2019 or whatever is never going to be worth anything more.
Yeah.
Although I don't know why is this. Now I'm looking at a list of the rarest Funko Pops.
Funko Pops.
And the first one is number 1. Steamboat Willie, I guess, was the original. Yep. Steamboat Willie was the original one. Mickey Mouse. And that's worth $1,200.
Jeez.
But what's up with Loki from the Avengers being worth $1,500?
I don't know. I think it's because of the character's popularity.
Oh. No, it's because there were only 400 made for the 2012 San Diego Comic-Con.
Okay, yeah.
That's why.
Comic-Con. Mm-hmm.
See, it's going to be only things like this. Yeah, it's all stuff that was made in small batches. Or were like giveaways.
Yeah, very limited edition, kind of rare things.
This was a Comic-Con, San Diego Comic-Con International 24 pieces.
Yeah.
2014. Freddie Funko? I don't even know who Freddie Funko is.
Is he like the mascot of
Maybe.
Funko?
Must be. These are all Comic-Con exclusives.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I rest my case. At
Your
first
case
I was
has
like,
been
oh shit, I'm like totally wrong about Funko Pops until I started reading about how many of them. There's 24 of them. Yeah, okay.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, so well, it's good I'm glad that somebody's successful in 2020. Did not expect it to be the baseball and sports memorabilia shops that are being so successful that they can open second locations. That seems stupid to me, incidentally. If you're making enough money where you can afford to open a second location, you sit on that money until the pandemic is over, you know?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, it's... At least as you have money invested in something, but the thing is, like, you know, it's only going to be worth whatever somebody is willing to pay for you based upon the market.
You weren't listening to me. That's
Sorry.
okay.
That's okay.
You respond. No, I know it's okay. You don't get to tell me that it's okay that you weren't listening to me. I was saying that if you're a company who sells this shit and you're making enough money that you can open a second store, do not open a second store. Just sit on the money and create a little nest egg, because you don't know that things are going to be better in 2021, really. And if suddenly this money dries up, at least you'll have more, and you'll still have this, you know, money waiting for you, as opposed to it being put into another source of another expenditure. But it's not my business.
If you have money, sit on it. Invest in crypto.
Where's my tea? It's none of my business.
None of my business. Oh god, the tea meme.
I like that meme.
I like the one that's got Kermit drinking.
That's the one I was talking about.
Okay. Well, there's people who have they have other things of people drinking tea and thinking that's the meme, and it's like, no, it's Kermit. And then you try to explain to them about Kermit, and you show them the picture of Kermit, and they're confused, and then you realize that they're just a bunch of fucking normies you're talking to.
Did this happen to you or something, Alex?
It always happens to me.
You tried to explain the tea meme to somebody?
Yeah, in the past I did.
Oh, I'm sorry.
And then
was it Erica?
Look. No.
Was it Erica? I feel like this show has just turned into us being old and complaining about things being different.
Are you excited for yet another Kevin Spacey Kino video this year?
I am. It's one thing. I don't feel excitement for much in life.
Kevin
Spacey. Kevin Spacey's YouTube videos are
warm,
like a yearly,
warm, comforting hands.
It is. It's like it's a yearly bright spot in a life of darkness.
Mm-hmm.
But I was on 4chan, because that's all I do all day now, is stare at 4chan. I've branched from TV and B. I'm now on A all the time, which is the anime board.
I like C to see if there's any Ritsu threads, and I'm not disappointed.
C is cute?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So I've really been going, there's a daily Evangelion countdown thread that I've been pretty active in lately.
For the final film?
Yeah, for the final film. 3.0 plus 1.0. Thrice Upon a Time. Anno went off the rails with his naming conventions yet again. I have no idea what was going on there. But anyway, and I was talking about, somebody was talking, because Utada Hikaru's newest single, which is the end theme for the film, she's done the end theme for all the films, was announced, and I made a comment that I bought the End of Evangelion soundtrack and Utada Hikaru's first album at Otakon 1998 together at the same booth. And I was like, it's funny that she ended up being integral to this series of films. And somebody replied and said, I was born in 1998. And then other people were like, yeah, how old are you, Anon? And I was like, I don't know if I want to answer this question. And so I kind of lied.
Fellow teenagers.
I lied a little bit. I felt self-conscious, and I said I was 35. And people replied, they were like, oh, that's not that bad. I thought you were going to be over 40. And I thought, I am going to be over 40 on 4chan.
I have come across some guys that are kind of our age or older in some threads.
That's because we're the original people.
Yeah.
We're the original 2003, 2004 generation of 4chan users.
Yeah.
And
how old is Moot, speaking of which?
He's got to be like young, early 30s.
Okay, because it's weird, because I do feel like he's younger than us. Or maybe he just looks like that, but 4chan's been, I mean, eventually it's going to hit its 20th anniversary, which is going to be party hats on everyone.
Now? This 4chan, Christopher Poole is 32 years old.
Wow.
Yeah.
So he was a high schooler then when he did this.
I got to send you something. Okay. I did not realize that there's a chant between Anno and like staff of the film about their dicks. That's something, and I thought it was fake, and they're like, no, this is like from some interview or something. But yeah, they're talking about their penises. Apparently, Anno is not particularly well endowed.
Oh. Poor Anno.
And
the Virgin Anno and the Chad Miyazaki.
Pretty much. Well, I think it's more like the Chad Suramaki, because Miyazaki's
the Chad
too old.
Oshi.
Chad Oshi. It'd be the Virgin Miyazaki and Chad Oshi. Oshi called out Miyazaki for liking little girls too much.
And not his own son enough.
Exactly. He would rather draw girls in their underwear.
He's like, look at that Miyazaki guy marching against nuclear proliferation again.
What are they called? Bloomers?
Like the underwear type of thing?
Yeah.
Like underskirts? I believe so. They're called bloomers.
Yeah, Kiki's delivery service. It was like, why do they show her bloomers so much in that?
It's like, we get it. She's on a broom and she's flying and there's wind. Here's a scene where she's just standing on the street corner. And she's
I was always convinced the first time I saw Noshka was when it was on VHS, and so it's pretty low resolution. I was convinced that Noshka was not wearing pants or underwear. Have you ever seen Noshka?
I've never watched Noshka. Oh, wow.
Okay, but here's the thing. That's actually not, those are pants. It's like she's wearing khaki pants.
Flesh-colored pants. Like
if you look at her skin tone, it's not the same color, which you can't see in that picture. But in those shots, it does not look good. And as a 14-year-old watching a bootleg VHS,
you don't know any better.
I was like, why did they do this? Why do they keep showing Noshka's ass in this movie? This isn't very... I thought Ghibli was more family friendly.
You were a discerning 40-year-old man back in that day going like, I don't know about this.
I'm very offended by this. Yeah, it was like, how do I defend this? I was trying to formulate to when my mom comes in and there's this girl showing her butt the whole time. Mm-hmm. It's like that picture you sent me tonight.
Are you winning?
Are you winning, son? We'll get to that.
We will get to that.
But anyway, I was talking about 4chan. I was like, why are we talking about?
Oh, speaking of anime, Sony's completed its purchase of Crunchyroll.
So Sony also owns Funimation, doesn't it?
Exactly, and they're supposedly gonna roll them into one and the same. Which
so now it's what Sentai Filmworks and Sony. That's all that's left.
That's basically it. Yeah.
I wonder if that's why Horrible Subs disappeared. Horrible Subs was kind of a rip. They would rip the episodes from Crunchyroll and then torrent it. But they disappeared with the pandemic, and we're like, nope, we're out. I wonder if they saw the writing on the wall and said, if Sony's behind Crunchyroll, they may come down pretty hard on the torrent communities.
It's funny how Sony's money-making divisions now at this point have nothing to do with electronics, really, apart from PlayStations. But, they originally weren't in the video gaming industry to begin with. They're starting to do that eventual pivot.
I think Ghibli films are on HBO.
Honestly, I feel like anything and everything is now going to that HBO Max thing. Every time I try to find something online to see, it's like, okay, is it on like Hulu or Prime or something? It's always on Amazon or on HBO Max. And I'm just like, Jesus.
Yeah, it is Studio Ghibli films to stream on HBO Max. Whatever. Buy the Blu-rays, everybody.
Yeah, that's the way to do it.
Well, there was some Blu-ray that I added to my wish list on Amazon. I don't remember what it was.
What did you get? Walk On Girl?
I did. I got that last Christmas.
Oh, you did? Okay. Oh, okay. I've got Night is Short. What are the movies? I'm taking a look at movies. I've got Excalibur, Tremors, and Seven Samurai Criterion.
I have Night on the Galactic Railroad, Jaja, Inherent Vice, Magnolia, The Master, Punch Drunk Love. I must have gotten drunk and added all of the Paul Thomas Anderson films. Ghost in the Shell 2, The Pillow Book, Interstellar, Akira, Stalker, Eclipse series, When Horror Came to Shochiku. It's a bunch of like horror B movies from Japan from Criterion. Mm-hmm. Stanley Kubrick collection, and then the Evangelion Rebuild films I've got on there. At this point, I guess I'll just wait for a box set of those. But what's funny? There is no box set release, or there's no domestic Blu-ray release of Evangelion in the United States. I think it's coming to the UK for some reason, but not in the US.
Interesting.
Even though Netflix owns the streaming rights.
They'll probably, once they lose those rights, then maybe those would come as a box thing, because they're probably thinking that, well, as long as we have it streaming, why should we also go and spend money on producing physical copies?
It doesn't necessarily mean that they have the physical rights, though.
Oh, okay. Because who has that now? Did they have to go through Gynex or somebody else?
I believe Studio Kara owns the rights to it now, which is Anno's company. Okay, Gynex is basically dead.
Okay, so he basically, the rights to that reverted to him directly.
Yeah, I think there was something, I don't know. I mean, Gynex did shady shit immediately after Evangelion. I think the CEO or whatever, the president at the time, went to jail for tax evasion.
Oh. Well, that'll send you to jail.
Japanese
jail.
Japanese jail.
Where you have to, you basically have to put chopsticks into little
the little paper, right?
I mean, my knowledge of this comes from Yakuza.
Oh, really? I thought you just made that up.
No. I was playing Like a Dragon, and Ichiban is in prison, and basically they have all the prisoners in a room. Instead of making license plates like they do here in the U.S., they basically have them stuff like the disposable chopsticks into little paper sheaths.
That sounds ridiculous, but it also makes sense.
I believe it because it's a Japanese game made by Sega, and Ryogo Gotoki, I think is the name is the actual studio that just works on that. So I'm like, it's a very Japanese pop culture game. So I'm like, this has got to be true.
It also might be a Japanese joke.
It might be a joke, but you know what? I'm going to go with it.
I'm gonna tell everyone it's real.
It's real
because I want it to be
a video game.
I want it to be real. That's why it's real.
It's real to me, damn it.
Speaking of being a prisoner, Alex.
Yes, Brendan.
I was at Menards last weekend.
Is it an awesome store?
Yes.
I love it. Oh no, I do. Menards
it reminds
is my
me
favorite
of Walmart store. In a weird way. Menards is your favorite store.
It is right now, Erica. If you asked Erica what my favorite store right now in the world would be, she'd be like, "It's probably question. Menards," and then a liquor store number 2, because I would just get stuck in there for hours. But please continue.
Well, no, I was just thinking. I was walking around, and I was sort of over by the administrative area. It's like offices and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And I looked over into this area, and I've noticed this at fast food places too. In the back, they'll have like motivational material and bulletin boards that have little cars racing towards goals with people's names on them.
A lot of corporate stuff, yes.
And it struck me as really depressing and really kind of demeaning, because they're treating the employees as if they're children. This is stuff you would see at a school in second grade. Yeah. It's like, oh, who's gonna make it to the goal first? I'm gonna make it look. You could have the red car, and Billy, you'll have the blue car, and Sarah, you can have the green car, and I'll write your names on them. And every time you do something good, I'll move the car up a space, and whoever gets there first wins a pizza party. You know what I mean? They do the exact same thing to these poor retail people. And it sucks. I don't understand why they think that that's motivating or motivational.
I think it's because it's the easiest way to try to portray. I think it's kind of it's corporate mentality, American corporate mentality, that basically it's kind of like trying to relate these ideas from the head office down to the rank and file peons to get it across in the most...
in the most demeaning, humiliating way possible.
Not in their minds, it's not demeaning. It's more this concept of team building or personal goal setting. And trying to make basically you don't want to come out and somebody say like, hey, you've been slacking off. Get your shit in gear or else you're going to begin to pink slip.
Your car's not moving.
Your car's not moving. Instead, Sarah's green car is... seems to be running out of gas, but there's a way it can get the gas again. The gas station, like, basically, it'll get more gas if she does so and so, and that means we'll get more gas in the tank, and then her car's going to speed off. It's similar to the shit they talked about in Office Space, and Office Space does a fantastic job of kind of portraying that mentality and work environment in many ways. It's a little bit different here, like you said, with it being Menards. But it's a similar train of thought in many different industries around the country.
Did they have that kind of shit when you worked at Hobby Lobby?
Kind of, yeah. I mean, some of the places I worked in, yeah. Not necessarily that, but it was kind of like personal goals and stuff like that, just to motivate people or to kind of get people to do stuff, because it was basically like to each their own accords for the most part. So yeah, I mean, if you slacked off and you didn't perform, then that would be bad. So this is something, we didn't have any cars, so RC planes maybe, I don't know if they had something like that, but it's something to kind of light a fire under people and stuff like that. Like, you've seen the videos of like, what is that? The Walmart kind of like pep chants and so, that type of shit.
That's so humiliating.
It is, but at the same time,
See, and I guess
I'd kind of prefer the calisthenics from like Japanese factory workers that they do in the morning.
Yeah, but that's not to like build team spirit. That's just to take care of the health of the employee. That's something that the United States would never do.
No.
It's just, to me, I guess I don't respond to that kind of shit, because when I briefly worked in retail, we at a certain clothing company or clothing retailer, there was a sign in the back.
Oshkosh.
Yes, at Oshkosh. For some reason, the people were upset with me always checking the kids' inseams. They're like, that's not even being tailored. And I'm like, I got to check it, though.
Sorry.
I lost my train of thought thinking of children's inseams. No, they had it was called the Zero Board. And it was just like stickers of people's names on it. But the Zero Board was for people who had not sold, new hires who had not sold, but convinced somebody to sign up for a credit card.
Oh, yeah. The credit cards. Credit cards.
And I stared at that, and they were like, Brendan, you've been on the Zero Board since you got here. And it had been like 2 weeks. And the moment that they said that to me, it, like, in my head, it turned into, I'm never asking people if they want a credit card now.
No.
I will be on the zero board forever now because you have put me on the zero board, and now I have lost any will to try to convince people to build credit card debt for you. Mm-hmm. So at that point, I was just like, maybe it's that built-in contrarian in me that says as soon as somebody tells me to do something, I immediately start being like, if you wouldn't have said anything, I might have gone along with this. But now that you're pressuring me, it's all off. Yeah. Now the plan's changed.
I kind of, when I was working at retail at Kirkland's, I was kind of like, we had a similar thing too with the credit cards. And I had a personal problem in terms of asking people if they wanted to sign up for it, because I knew myself from personal experience that I don't like it when people ask me if I'm interested in signing up, because then you have to listen to the whole spiel. And as me being the working employee person, I would have to regurgitate that same spiel to people. Like I did it to a few people, but mostly because they were buying like several hundreds of dollars worth of merchandise. And I thought like, okay, maybe you'd want like a bit of a discount on your initial thing and stuff like that and blah, blah, blah. But to do it like, someplace they ask every fucking person. Like if somebody's buying like a $20 lamp, I'm not gonna fucking ask them if they want a goddamn credit card. Oh, you'll get 15% today, and for every blah 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 you spend, you get $5 and Kirkland bucks and blah blah. I'm like, that's just fucking ridiculous. And that was my thing. It's like, I find it silly and stupid because it's like, and this was back in like 10 years ago, right before the whole housing crisis crash and stuff like that, where people are just opening up a dozen credit cards and just not knowing what the fuck is going on with their credit scores and stuff. It just, even then I was just like, I don't want to fucking do that. It's like, just get your fucking hand soap pump thing and leave my store, please. Thank you.
So anyway, so if you're currently stuck in retail,
yeah,
I'm very sorry. And
we know where you're coming from and what you're dealing with, and it's especially shitty because it's December and it is that time of year.
Yeah.
So,
hey Alex.
Yes, Brendan.
Do you know what time it is?
It's time for Professor Alex's fascinating factoids and other such trivia.
Yes, the most exciting part of the week now has finally arrived. Professor Alex is here, ready to share big brain ideas with us. I guess not ideas, but just facts.
Fascinating factoids.
It will change the way you view the world.
It is. It's kind of like a Trivial Pursuit, but with us. God, that Mai Tai is really good.
With you.
Yes.
No, don't drag me into this.
Sorry. Our first factoid comes from the insect kingdom, and it deals with orchid bees. The male orchid bee is not capable of replicating their own pheromones for mating purposes, and in order to attract females of their species, they must collect pollen from specific varieties of orchids in their environment in order to then chemically ingest them and give off those pheromones after eating so. It's kind of like eating garlic, It's kind of the thing. So, yes. Our second factoid regards pistachios. Pistachios are actually related, unbeknownst to many people, to the cashew, and are also native to desert areas that tend to have a high salinated soil content.
Cashews? You decided to share information.
No, this is about pistachios.
Oh, pistachios. I thought you said cashews.
Well, they're related.
They're related to
cashews.
Gotcha. You know why I got fixated on cashew? Because I have cashews right now, and I was like,
do you ever look at a cashew and think to yourself, this kind of looks like a fetus?
I imagine I'm eating fetuses. I imagine that I'm in some kind of dystopian future,
or an alien,
where we have dried fetuses mass-produced in tanks, and I just consume them for protein.
Yes.
But yes, mine are currently chocolate-coated, so...
We're going to have to eat those bugs one day on the
It's going to be the bugs.
The pizzas.
It's good. Oh.
Do you think that vegetarians would end up eating the bugs?
No,
Okay.
they shouldn't. I don't know. Maybe. I guess
mean,
do they consider?
insects have feelings?
I would say no. I don't even think they can feel pain.
Mm,
Can they feel pain?
I don't know.
Hey Google.
Do insects feel pain? Do robots dream of electric sheep?
This is horrifying.
Oh, jeez. Okay.
Scientists have known insects experience something like pain, but new research provides compelling evidence suggesting that insects also experience chronic pain that lasts long after the initial injury has healed.
So they're kind of like retired NFL players.
Exactly. So that they've got to go to rehab. Even
My
after
brain's turned to scrambled eggs.
Well, that's really horrifying that insects feel pain.
Yeah.
With that small of a brain or whatever it is.
What was it from high school? Wasn't it like a brain stem or brain nerve?
That's what I mean. It's probably, it's like, it's one nerve.
Yeah.
Well, anyway.
All right.
We went from talking about pistachios to cashews to eating embryos to eating bugs.
Okay. And finally, our last factoid deals with a character from history. Cleopatra, which was a former pharaoh, queen of Egypt. I don't know what the term was. I should know this. Pharaoh's queen. Cleopatra was previously a queen of Egypt. Was actually believed by many historians to not have killed herself by the venom of an asp bite, or cobra in some cases. However, they believe that she might have possibly used a poison that was delivered to her body via an ointment balm or possibly a sharp object such as a hairpin. And that was this week's Fascinating Factoids and Other Such Trivia.
Well, this was a very eclectic group of trivia.
It was. It was a great combination. There was no lynching of elephants. So
Alex, that's true. That was not nearly much of a downer as usual. No children that were held captive in basements.
No.
Finally. Well, I feel smarter and more knowledgeable now that I've had another weekly dose of Professor Alex's
Fascinating Factoids. And Other Such Trivia. Yes.
But finally tonight.
Yes, the moment we've all been waiting for.
Well, you've certainly
you've
been excited about this. I've been getting text messages and updates about this issue, this topic, for 2 months now, 3 months.
Mm-hmm.
You were giving me the blow as it was about to unlock. What are we talking about, Alex?
We are going to talk about what everybody else on the video board universe is talking about, which is Cyberpunk 2077, because we both have it. And we're playing you and I are both playing a current AAA video game. How weird is that?
I am barely playing it, but
chugging along.
Which is kind of what I want to talk about. But
okay,
you have a much more capable system for this game right now.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that and this isn't a review. This is just first impressions. I have 4 hours in it. How much do you have, Alex?
Let me take a look at GOG right now. I currently have 3 hours.
Okay, so yeah, we're both in the same general ballpark for time, and I actually spent an hour in character customization, so it's probably, even though there's not much to really do in character customization.
Yeah, because the 3 to 6 is coming to Steam, dude. I just saw the thread. I'm sorry. I'm just happy right now. I'm sorry.
You're fine. I'm happy for you.
Late January, they're coming out. Oh, fuck. Thank you, God, Sega.
Based Sega.
Ryo Go Gotoku Studio, #1.
But anyway, back to Cyberpunk.
Meanwhile.
Alex, you're just a very excitable guy.
I am.
I wish that I had the same amount of joy for anything that you seem to do for everything.
You gotta watch Magnum P.I. It's a good show.
I watch Magnum PI all the time. What does that have to do with being happy?
Did you know that the theme song for season 1 is much different from the rest of the series?
Alex, yes.
Okay, sorry.
I've been watching Magnum PI for... Yeah.
We never... it's something you and I never talk about.
I've said that I've always wanted to...
I didn't know you played saxophone.
That's true. I wanted to write... No. Where am I going to practice saxophone?
Your apartment?
That's not an option. That's rude and selfish. Also, I didn't really like playing saxophone. Oh. So I was good at it.
Did you look cute?
Enjoy it.
Were you told that you look adorable?
I was like 14, so I was still pretty husky. Stop. Anyway,
yeah.
Back to Cyberpunk. So yeah, we both have the same amount of time. Alex, what do you think so far?
So far, it's kind of what I expected the game to be. Because I kind of thought about this discussion earlier this evening, when I was making dinner for everybody. Basically,
Alex is like the jar's overflowing as he's pouring the juice for his son, and he's just like staring. And Erica's like, "What the hell are you doing?" You're like, "I'm thinking about my review."
Thinking about Cyberpunk, yo. Basically, I do have to, as a disclaimer, in terms of not really defending the developer or anything like that, but in terms of Cyberpunk itself, is that I think a lot of people that are playing the game and had one idea of what the game would be in terms of style and atmosphere and genre, kind of thought that this would be more like Ghost in the Shell or Blade Runner, when it's really kind of, it borrows elements from both, but really more so from Ghost in the Shell, since Cyberpunk itself is a RPG that was created as its own thing. So a lot of people who think there's going to be like androids or synths, like in Blade Runner, won't be getting the same type of experience. So that's one. The world itself, from what I've played so far, I'm enjoying the way it is. I do get more vibes of it being set more of a like Judge Dredd / Fifth Element type of setting. I mean, like I said, I've only gotten 3 hours worth. I did a Corpo character playthrough so far. And it looks sleek, it looks good. I mean, there are some graphical issues, like I sent you the picture earlier tonight, where that one guy, Jackie, is supposed to be holding 2 pistols, and he wasn't holding 2 pistols during this one firefight.
He wasn't holding anything, but he was acting like he was holding.
Yeah. He was just gonna go pew pew with his fingers.
Yeah,
like
it was like
South Park.
He was playing. It's like he was playing with his kid.
Yeah. So that's like, in terms of like glitches, I know people are having some major glitches and stuff like that, which might be an issue of either drivers or graphics card or processor or combination of different things. Even though people sometimes, a lot of people have really good stuff in terms of their components, on the PC. I can't really speak for consoles, but I can only do PC. There are issues sometimes that are alleviated based upon drivers or different hardware and stuff like that. And you're also in-game settings and stuff. I've liked it so far. Looking out a window or over a terrace and seeing this giant city come to life and things like that is really cool. The little bit of gameplay I've done so far, the enemies, they're not really bullet sponges, but they're not really like one-hit kills in a sense. So, maybe if you upgrade your weapons, that could be done. I'm playing keyboard mouse, so there's a lot more buttons to be messing with. I'm enjoying it so far. I mean, like I said, it hasn't been that long. The setting feels very cyberpunkish. I mean, it's kind of hard to describe to people when they have one idea of cyberpunk as opposed to, the Mike Pondsmith concept of the RPG type of thing, which this is based upon. So
to sort of speak to that a little bit, from because I don't know much about the tabletop game.
Yeah.
The game definitely looks way better at night, like Cyberpunk in general does. The daytime stuff I find very lackluster and boring.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's like you have to time skip. Just you only play from 5 p.m. till 5 a.m.
Which I think a lot of people
time.
are. Yeah. I think that was something that people were mentioning in the past. I think there was like a trailer that came out or a preview like 6 months ago where they were showing a lot of daytime stuff. And a lot of people were kind of questioning why exactly everything all of a sudden is all bright and cheery and sunny when you get, everything you've pretty much known about Cyberpunk or anything with that genre tends to be more of an overcast daytime.
Overcast and raining day.
And rainy, yeah. Which overcast is definitely...
night and raining.
Yeah, overcast is definitely... I mean, when you think of overcast, I would think like Ghost in the Shell because it was like bright and cheery sunny, or nighttime rain, which is more Blade Runner-ish. And those are the two biggest, I guess, comparisons that most people would know for like cyberpunkish type of stuff.
So that kind of thing, the part of it that bothers me in terms of the setting that I did not expect is how deliberately it's trying to be funny, like funny dystopia, like Grand Theft Auto.
Yeah, like the radio stuff, like
the radio stuff, the television stuff, the advertising is all, it's not natural. The silly stuff feels like a parody to me.
Yeah, and GTA is a perfect example of you comparing it to, because it's like those, like the Zaibatsu. I remember the ad for the Zaibatsu Monstrosity, which was like a super SUV that got like 6 miles to the gallon or something,
exactly,
or some shit like that. Yeah. Is your character, what playthrough are you doing? Are you doing Corpo or Nomad?
I know you wanted me to do Corpo.
I didn't want you to, but
I'm doing Nomad.
You do Nomad. Okay, so I'm guessing the experience, the game playthroughs are going to be, because I'm hoping you do at least one playthrough in each of the 3 different groups, I guess you would call it, or I don't know.
It's just the backstory or
Backstory.
life path.
Yeah,
that's what they
path.
call it.
Yeah.
And I already know that one thing is different because I was looking. Someone posted a screen cap and they were like, "Oh, look at how it looks on my computer." And then I was looking at it and I was like, "What the fuck?" And then I looked up this because I could see the subtitle of what was being talked about. And in my game and the game I pulled on YouTube, the Jackie's sitting in a car talking to you, and that's like the first video when I was like walk through part 1, whatever, and I went to that part because it's really early, and he was sitting in the car, and I posted the screenshot, and I was like, "Aren't you supposed to be sitting in a car?" Because it's the same location. Also, it's just he was like, "No, we were chilling on the street," and I was like, "That's interesting." That it's the same conversation in the same location, but being done differently.
Yeah.
So,
because mine was basically as Corpo. I'm basically kind of like this guy who's working for this division head of the company, and there's like this breach or some sort of information, and I'm supposed to go out someplace to meet Jackie, and I actually take this flying car to Jackie, to this basically CD, like not CD, but kind of like this dance club, like, and Jackie sitting in like this corner booth and stuff, and we're talking about stuff about what happened, and this deal is, so it's interesting how it seems like each of the life paths that you have is taking a different path, even though Jackie.
Oh, so you started in the city?
Yes, I started in the city, in the high rise. Yeah, so it's interesting the way that is and stuff, because I wanted to kind of go that route, and my character basically to be kind of like focused on handguns, submachine guns, and like melee combat.
But that's not locked to the life path.
No, okay. I realize, but that's kind of how I want to make this particular character go. Mm-hmm.
That's how I make all my characters. So my issue, I'm enjoying the game very much. My entire problems with it are technical, and not glitch technical, but I don't understand their system specs. Because if you look at their system requirements, they have the minimum a GeForce GTX 780. That to me says low settings across the board.
Right.
Middle of the road would be, like mine would be on the lower end of the middle of the road. And then you've got the 980s, the 1080s, and then you're into the 1660. So they have at the recommended is this 1060 and 1660. Don't you have a 1660?
Yeah, the 660 Super.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So then that's the recommended, which should be all high settings to me, not ultra, but should all be all okay. Yeah. What the fuck? These settings don't make it. These recommend requirements are bullshit. They're complete nonsense.
I think it is. I think it is when you turn. Okay, so it seems like when you look at that chart, there's like the RTX and the non-RTX, and really at this point, if you have a 3000 series card, you're fine with your RTX. The 2000 series RTX requirements are still kind of It was kind of testing they were basically beta testing those cards for 3000.
Hold on. I'm not talking about RTX at all. That's way outside the spectrum
in terms
of
of
what I'm getting at.
Yeah, but in terms of these types of settings, I think it's what those settings should be if you turn things like clouds down to like 0 and shadows down to 0 or
which is the low setting.
Yeah.
This is what I'm getting at. Hold on. Let me finish.
Yeah.
What I'm getting at is that if I put it with a GTX 970 and I thought that my CPU would be a bottleneck, not at all. I sit at 45% CPU utilization the entire time I'm in game. Mm-hmm. I never get pinned on CPU. So that's not the problem. So then the GTX 970, clearly the problem. I have everything set to low.
Mm-hmm.
To try to bump, and I was getting I should say today I started running it again tonight, and somehow my quality has bottomed out. Somehow between playing it yesterday and playing it today, because I was getting 45 frames per second pretty much across the board. Now I'm down to 35 for no discernible reason. And I went back into the settings, and after watching the Linus video, I realized there was that texture setting.
Mm-hmm.
That was set to high, so I was like, I'll put that down to medium.
Yeah.
And I'll drop the resolution. Didn't make any difference.
Interesting.
Then I put everything to ultra. It dropped to 20 frames per second instead of 35.
For the cinematic experience.
But my point is,
yeah,
I'm losing 15 frames per second going all the way to ultra, and nothing is happening if I go all the way down to... my native resolution is 1920 by 1200. I switched that to 1680 by 1050. Made zero difference.
That is weird.
Why? What is going on with the optimization in this game? Because that is fucked up.
Maybe it was in that Linus. I don't know if it was in the Linus video that mentioned it, or maybe I heard it someplace. I've heard supposedly that it's something that's also CPU bound, dealing with some of this stuff. Although with a lot of that texturing stuff that you've been mentioning, it should also be GPU.
The textures dropping from high resolution textures to mid textures should have gotten me at least 2 frames per second or something.
Yeah, at least minimum. Yeah, it should have done at least some sort of improvement. I think it's still an issue of them. I think it's something that they're going to be sending out within the next month, if not the next few weeks, some stabilization and optimization patches for this game.
I agree, and that's why I'm not really getting down on CD Projekt Red for any of this, because clearly they knew this was coming.
Yeah. Although I do have to say, in their defense, in a sense, this game has pretty much been in development for close to 8 years, because I remember the first mention of this was back in, I think it was E3 2013 was the first announcement, and that's... Shit, I've been married since 2013. That's a long time ago. I'm telling you,
you were there. I have an existential issue with what you just said. It's nothing bad about what you said, but I was thinking about that, and it gave me a meltdown.
Yeah, but yeah. So basically, it also shows you how far back, how many generations back of graphics cards this game is able to support, even just for low.
But Alex, it can't. They have GTX 780 as an option in here. That is bullshit. 780 will not run this game at all. Because if I'm at the low, if I'm in the low mid-range graphics card and I'm dropping everything down to beyond low, I'm dropping the render resolution from native down to, I went all the way down to 1440 by 900 to see if that made any difference, and it doesn't. And there's lots of people. Everyone with a 780 is like, holy shit, I thought that I could play this at low settings, and I can't, it just crashes now.
Yeah.
So there's something, these system requirements, if they would have just said 970 is the very lowest card that can possibly run it, then it would all make sense.
Yeah. Yeah. If it is going to be playing, if it's going to be able to run it stably on low, they're going to have to fix that.
Yeah, and
issue.
8 gigs of RAM is the minimum? No way.
Yeah.
12 should be the minimum. 16 should really be the minimum.
I've got 16, and I'm looking at the prices of 32 gig kits, and I'm going like, maybe I should just go to fucking 32.
This is all I'm getting at. Really, is that their system requirements are the issue here. The game, if they weren't going to ship it compatible with all of this stuff, then they should have just been honest and said, the minimum entry for requirement to get 30 frames per second and have it be relatively playable is a GTX 970 or whatever the Radeon equivalent is. Dropping that to a GTX 780 is really suspicious. It's the same thing with where they were blocking. This I will give shit to CD Projekt Red. There was an embargo on reviewing the console version.
Yeah.
Until they knew. They knew.
And I think also the problem was that they were still developing it for previous like PS4 and...
Well, that's what I mean. The PS4 and the Xbox One should not have been released. Those are garbage.
Yeah. Yeah. I think they should have just focused, and that's kind of what the reason for the delay was too, supposedly, because they were saying like, well, we're having stability issues in terms of running. I think they released it supposedly like 9 different platforms, and you're like, well, it's just, okay, PC, PS4, Xbox One, and then PS5, and then it should be 5. And it's like, no, it's actually because PS4 and Xbox One each had their own internal generational upgrades, so they basically had to be able to run it for like the Xbox One S and the Xbox One or the PS4 Pro or whatever those things are. So each of those had to have their own internal type of stabilization fixes. So it's something that they're going to have to fucking get cranking on very soon, because this is not going to help them in any way, shape, or form, because I believe their stock price actually took a significant dip within the last day.
Yeah.
So, granted, it's something that they'll probably be fixing kind of similar to like No Man's Sky, but, this is something that you've been working on this thing for, like I said, close to 7-8 years at this point. And, it could be maybe a good case to say trying to release it on previous gen systems is not a good fucking thing, because, in many cases you got to make a fucking choice. Do we go console and PC, or just console and then port it over to PC, right? Or what, that type of, there's always that argument to be made.
What really confuses me, and why I think you're right about the optimization patches, I really, really hope you're right about there being optimization patches, is that I just got done playing The Outer Worlds, which came out last year, set to very high, and got a consistent 60 frames per second. Great, no crashes, no real glitches, fine. Right. That, I wasn't expecting to play this game at very high, because obviously it's a sliding scale of what is high and what is low. But that very high setting is remarkably higher quality than the low setting in in this game. Mm-hmm. So my question is, why? If that was the low setting on this game and it ran fine, that would make sense to me. Yeah. But the low setting is so low, you know what I mean? And it's not, right. But it doesn't run. It doesn't run as well as it runs worse than it looks, and that's bad.
Yeah, I think it's also because there's the whole thing. It is funny how, I have to say how the way they basically put, like, it's the RTX cards and then everybody else in their own thing. And I saw that, I'm going like, wow, they're really pushing the whole RTX thing. And quite honestly, from my knowledge of RTX, it just seems like it does a better job in terms of creating more realistic shadowing and lighting effects and stuff like that.
Can I tell you, I'm not really impressed with the
I'm
RTX
not.
stuff, ray tracing in general.
Not
I
at
guess I
all,
should say.
because they make a big fucking hoopla about it with like Minecraft and other things, and I'm like, if you are playing Minecraft for the fucking graphical fidelity, for God's sakes, man, what is wrong with you? And it's like, why don't we introduce ray tracing to something like fucking Pong or Tetris, you know?
Well, and they were like Linus was showing that one scene with ray tracing on and off, and I was thinking, I'm sorry. I feel bad. I feel like I'm crazy, but I'm looking at that thinking the difference is so marginal.
Yes.
And he's oohing and eyeing over how much more immersive it is, and it doesn't look flat. And to me, it's like the Emperor's new clothes. Yeah.
No, exactly. I look at, when I was looking at ray tracing, and I kind of thought to myself, I'm going like, if you're getting if you're getting the very first ray tracing cards, which were those RTX 2000 series, I was telling people, or just thinking to myself even, like, wait until the 3000 comes out, because it's going to be better. They're going to have the issues taken out. You're actually going to see, you know, if anybody really wants to start supporting this thing. And I was right, because you can get a card that's more powerful than like the top of line 2080s for like half the price and stuff like that. And people were told, like, don't buy it, don't go in for it and stuff. It'll be fine and all, but it's like, at the end of the day, it's like, if you could wait 9 months and get a better card for less money, you should have done it. And the thing is also with RTX, it's like, how many games are really going to be able to go ahead and take full support of this thing? Definitely your big multi-million-dollar titles and stuff like that, but when you've got a bunch of people who are just playing, comfy games like Honey Pop Idol, I mean, how much RTX do you really need for that stuff? And honestly, I think the biggest benefit
for referencing Honey Pop for me.
Yes, the real benefit for the next generation of cards,
55 hours.
The real benefit of those cards is just in terms of power consumption, VRAM, your clock speed, your improvement over the previous generation. It really doesn't have to do with the RTX. The RTX is nice, but I mean, if you can get so many more frames just turning RTX off, then we're at this point right now where we're kind of getting to where we want it to be, but it's still baby steps instead of a giant huge jump like previously. So that's my 2 cents on that.
So I am looking forward to really getting into this game over the weekend, and I'm on Christmas break starting tomorrow evening. So
Happy
I
holidays.
will have plenty of time to put into this. But when Alex and I have finished it, our playthroughs will give a final verdict. But we had thoughts we wanted to share about what we were seeing, and I do think that, I didn't have many expectations because I didn't watch anything besides a couple of trailers.
Yeah.
I just love Cyberpunk, so that was my main draw to it. Mm-hmm. There's all these people that are like pissed off about the character customization not being intense enough. Mm-hmm. And I do agree that I didn't really care, frankly. But I mean, Fallout's much more detailed, and Skyrim and games like that where you have control over your actual like physique. Mm-hmm. I like to make my character more realistic, so I make my boy a little thicker than the guy that they usually default to. We've got like a twink is who we get as the default, as the only body. Yeah. But yes, as Alex alluded to earlier, you can customize your character where it counts, I guess.
Yeah. Which I found out you can actually have wrapped or unwrapped candy bar, which it deals with the glitches, and I do have to say there was like I said, the pistol glitch earlier. There was one about a guy using a tablet that wasn't even existing in his hands, and then another glitch I had at the character creations that every so often, whenever I would finish selecting a characteristic, it would take me all the way back up to the top of the list, and apparently I missed that one particular appendage.
You didn't know that?
I didn't know that you can be a diamond in the rough or a polished diamond. I saw size, and I was like huge.
That's hilarious to me because I was wondering about that.
Yeah.
Because when you sent me that picture, I was like, Alex, did you send me your custom build? Because you went for the huge one too.
Yeah, I did too.
No, I didn't do that.
Oh, you didn't? Oh.
I told you I didn't.
Oh.
I didn't. I went for the normal one. I tried, like I said, I tried to make my character. The only thing that I fucked up, and I'm probably going to actually restart the game because I found out that you can't change your haircut anywhere.
Which is weird considering...
it is very weird.
Yeah. It's weird.
But as a meme, I chose Chris Bryant's haircut. I don't know if you noticed it, but there was Chris Bryant's haircut was totally an option in there, and I picked it. Mm-hmm. Chris Bryant had, so that's like, for the listeners, this kind of like quasi mohawk thing, but it's like gradually shaved on the sides. It's a terrible haircut. I kind of love it though. But so I thought, I'll do this for my Cyberpunk, hacker guy. Mm-hmm. And now when I see him in the menu, I think, this was a joke haircut and I fucked up. I should have just gone with a nice short haircut because my guy's pretty low key, like just normal. Mm-hmm. I didn't go crazy. You should send me a picture of your guy.
Yeah, I should. I think he's got like blonde hair and he's got kind of like this grayish blue eyes, and the stuff on his cheeks are kind of like double lines that go back to like his like temple and stuff. I didn't go full ape shit or anything like
any
that.
tattoos, any face tattoos?
I've got the one. Yeah, the not the face tattoo, but I've got the body tattoos, which is kind of like this, like the black, like solid color that goes across his chest, like in his leg. And that's basically, my guy is basically running around now in a tank top, basketball shorts, and combat boots with like a military helmet.
God, you're ridiculous.
I'm like, you know what? Well, I'm trying to be the like suave corporate type of dude, but the only clothes I'm finding with the really good armor are like street baller shoes.
It's so funny because I suck at armor because I only wear the clothes that I like, not the I don't look at the stats at all.
Your style over substance.
Yeah,
you're like a one-hit kill.
Yep. Whatever. I make up for it with kitting out my guns.
Yeah. Yeah, that's true. So, I mean, it is a good thing you can upgrade like your weapons and your stats and your clothing, and I should probably be able to do the same. I have to find some stuff. Like I said, I mean, I'm still gonna play some of it once we're done here and stuff. So
yeah. All right. Well, speaking of being done here, I think that we are done here.
Okay.
So, Alex, would you please wrap up this week's episode of Culture Doom?
Sure thing, buddy. On behalf of everybody here at Culture Doom, which is Brendan and me, Alex, thank you again for listening to episode 330, and we hope you join us again next time. And on that note, we will say do побачення. Until next time.